Now I have the pleasure of introducing Amanda, who's going to be delivering our presentation today. So I'm going to share her presentation and let her get started. Throughout this presentation, if you want to ask questions in the chat, I'll be monitoring the chat. And then there'll be a little bit of time to ask questions at the end, but I'll help field any things that come up. Yeah, sounds good. So I'll pass it off to you, Amanda.
Thank you, Robin. I appreciate everybody inviting us, Members First, to come do a presentation for you. I have worked with Members First for the last 18 years. I do work with our investment services department, but today we're going to talk specifically about Budgeting 101. And some of this I talk about a lot on a daily basis, so I can get a little passionate about it, but it's very, very important to create a plan for your money. You can go to the next slide. All right, why are we here today? Obviously, we are here today to learn about not just creating a budget, but also ways that we can make some changes in our lives to maneuver that money in a little bit of a different way. Next slide. And I think they have like auto stuff with that. Perfect. Yes. A few things to think about. 27% of Americans don't think about a household budget at all. 33% of Americans do not have any long-term financial plan, and that includes retirement. 27% of adults have no emergency savings. I see this every single day. 42% of Americans worry about not having enough money to pay monthly bills, and only 30% of Americans rate their personal financial situation as good. I have felt all of these things and I believe fallen into every one of these categories myself, so I relate. Nope, you can keep going. You're doing good. So obviously what we want to talk about is why budget. Budgets are necessary to take control of our personal spending, savings, debt. Obviously, living beyond your means is dangerous. Many individuals don't realize they're overspending until they're deeply in debt. Credit cards are easy access to funds, makes it very easy and mindless to spend. And anybody who has put a lot of money on credit cards knows how hard it is to pay that off. So easy to rack them up, so much longer to pay them off. And the absence of a budget is one of the greatest contributors to stress about money. And one of the biggest stresses is about money. So, next slide, please. Thank you. So, we all need to sort of ask ourselves, how are we doing financially? And we got to be honest with ourselves. Are you a spender or a saver? I was a spender once upon a time, and I had to learn a discipline for savings. It was something I had to personally practice. Are you taking advantage of any 401k plans or retirement plans offered through your employer? Are you paying down debt or are you accumulating debt? And what is your credit score? And do you really understand the importance of it? I have a lot of people who have no credit. I think no credit is worse than bad credit. No credit means they don't know nothing about you and they're never going to give you any money. Bad credit is at least something we can improve upon. Next slide,
I
please.
don't know if you're going to talk about it, but can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So some folks, at least a lot of folks I've met, don't completely know what a 401k means. You don't have to go into a whole bunch of details. You might cover it later too, but if for people who aren't aware, can you explain a little bit about what that is?
Will explain a little bit. A 401k plan, 401k is a tax label for a retirement plan. There's lots of tax labels that you might have heard of too. There's something called a 403b or an IRA, which is an individual retirement account, or a Roth IRA. Some people have heard of TSPs or deferred comp, all these fancy names are all basically tax code names for a retirement plan. 401k means this is a retirement plan with an employer who is for profit. That's all it is. But I think that it gives you an idea that are you saving for retirement, which is an important topic that I'll touch on down the road here. Thank you. Great question. I feel like I kept it simple, but was able to answer that.
No, that's super helpful.
Mhm.
I think about myself when I got my first like adult job, air quote.
Yeah.
I didn't put money into 401k because I was like,
Mhm.
well, I need money now. And so
Yeah.
I think it's really helpful for people to know what that means and why they might consider putting money into that.
I love that you said that because oftentimes people won't do the 401k because they are afraid of it affecting that bring home. But that retirement plan through work does come off of your money earned before they take taxes out. And it usually doesn't affect your bring home at 3% or less. So even at 3%, you shouldn't be affecting your bring home pay. Just just so you know. I see a lot of questions coming in, so I'm going to stay on topic and I'll come back to all of those. Flip me to the next one. Perfect. So where to begin? We always begin with a financial snapshot of our net worth, which is basically a lot of this is common sense, but we got to work through it. Your personal net worth is the difference between all the things you own and all the things you owe money on. So debts, liabilities, that sort of thing. Your net worth is a statement that completely lists, almost itemizes everything that has current value. And then having concrete knowledge, not a guesstimate, actually knowing this number helps you decide how to move yourself forward from there. So me personally, I like to use myself as an example too, because I am now further through life. I'm 47 years old. I have my oldest child married and buying a house. My youngest child is living on his own in Pittsburgh. So I have now gone through a lot of these processes, and it is a struggle those first few years. So I can relate to that. Next page. All right, so this is a list of what we would consider assets. Assets are things like cash equivalents, your investments, your retirement funds, and a lot of people will think their retirement funds are investments. They could be, but some investments are other things like real estate, personal property, special collections of value, coin collections, that sort of thing. Those are all assets. Next one. Ah, household goods. They added another one on there. Liabilities. Liabilities are your loans, your credit cards, your mortgage if you have a house, the taxes that you owe if you owe taxes or back taxes, and any other debts that you have out there. But it's not your daily, you're never going to walk away from bills. Those aren't liabilities, those are operating expenses. Next one, please. So once we're creating our net worth statement, we're basically making a list of all of our current assets, then all of our liabilities, and subtracting one from the other. If it's a positive number, congratulations, it's amazing. You are ahead of the game. And if it's a negative number, that just means we are working through the process and working towards positive net worth. And it is not unusual to have negative numbers in this category as we are starting to build financial wealth. As we develop through our lives, we are going to accumulate debt young because we have to buy a house and we have to buy a car and we have to pay off school loans. So you're just starting out behind. So we really have to have a strong savings discipline. Next one. So when we're developing our budget, Once you have your net worth statement created and some financial goals, you're ready to create your budget. So your budget is your tool or training tool to find out, are you on track? Where is your money going? And I really encourage everybody to track this for a month. I tracked it, and I can tell you through the years, I've made many adjustments, but I have had money go into plenty of wasteful places, such as donuts. I love them. I want one every morning for breakfast. So that was one of those extra little things that I'd stop for all the time. And I love to treat myself to fountain sodas. I know it's bad for me, but I love them, and they're like a treat for me. So these are things that maybe I don't need every single day, but I knew I was spending money on. Next one. So once we customize the budget, we're going to take all of our wages from all of our jobs, one or two. I've worked more than one job at a time in my life previously. Any income that you have from outside interest like rental, any investments, interest or dividend income that you have, any child support or alimony that you have coming in, and any other sources of income like a family helping you out or something like that. That's all what we're counting as income for the month. Next, please. This is a list of all the expenses that everyone has. I reviewed this list and I felt like it was pretty on target with what I am also spending money on. So, savings, you're going to hear people say pay yourself first all the time. That just means that you need to be saving into your emergency fund, your retirement fund. You need to be putting money aside first for savings for that rainy day, which is the hardest thing to do and to start. Then obviously you have your mortgage or your rent, your utilities, your auto expenses or other transportation, groceries, meals, your insurances, auto, medical, home, life, any of those types of things, medical expenses, your deductibles, your out-of-pocket costs, entertainment, childcare, credit card, clothing, household. I'm exhausted just thinking about all these bills we're paying. Miscellaneous. So obviously, we all are paying these similar bills, and we just need to see where the two of them are going to come together. So next slide, please. Okay, so what do we do with the leftover money if we are on the positive? That's the goal. So my number one thing is to start an emergency fund. I talk about emergency funds more than anything because most people don't have them or they're not large enough. Now, it doesn't have to be $50,000 like Dave Ramsey says sitting in the bank, but it does need to be 3 to 6 months worth of your expenses should an emergency happen. And to put that in perspective for younger people who are just starting out, I can't imagine anyone's expenses being under a 1,500 a month, 2,000 a month. So you're definitely looking at, I would say a minimum of $10,000 is an appropriate emergency fund. And this is so important because just $500 as an emergency fund can save you from completely derailing your complete financial situation. And as you get older and are in retirement, those emergency funds have to be even larger because they don't have new money coming in. They have no new money for anybody um, to get. So they have expensive emergencies. My most expensive emergency was putting a transmission in my car, and that was $3,800. So I always tell people, what was the largest check you ever wrote for an emergency, and have at least that. The other things that we want to obviously do with our leftover money is start paying down that debt, putting money towards retirement, and start saving for those longer term goals. Next one. What to do if you have not enough money? Are you overspending? I can sometimes be an overspender, especially if I feel like I'm on track with things and I want to get something extra for myself. But it helps to shop around for the lowest interest rates on loans, price compare for your um, credit cards. Maybe you need to do a balance transfer or something for a lower rate. Compare insurance prices. I had a lot of different car quotes lately, and they have been all over the gamut for car insurance. So I've even seen quite a big difference in those prices. Buy used, shop for sales and ask for discounts, eat at home, pack lunches, use coupons, trade babysitting. I think I've done all of these things once in my life for sure. So, yes, we need to just be more conscientious on these.
I
Yes.
just wanted to add too, just for some stretch your dollar stuff, there's a lot of buy nothing groups
I
in
like
our
that.
local area. And they're really great. They're usually on Facebook. They're a pretty solid resource for getting some. I mean, I've gotten like new stuff where someone's like, I think I got an air fryer that way. I think that I've gotten like when I had a puppy, I got like unused like puppy pads. So like, you know,
Yes.
looking online can be a good place to find some of that stuff too.
Yeah, because a lot of people, they don't want to throw things away.
For sure. Yeah.
But they want to know that it's going somewhere. My whole family is like that. So that is a great resource. I think social media is such a great resource too. I don't have a lot of it, but I see my kids using it and selling stuff on Marketplace with Facebook and things. It's amazing the access that you have to information now.
For sure. I see someone in the chat also wrote, as an insurance agent, I will say shopping around at least once every couple of years can save you a chunk of change. As I've seen, independent agencies can help run quotes with multiple companies in one shot. So that's a
Yes,
good thing to think about too.
that is a really great input there, and I agree with you as an insurance agent. Definitely need to be doing those things. She's right. They're right. Plug spending leaks. No more impulse buying. Grocery indulgences. I'm guilty of that. I was lactose intolerant as a kid, and I just recently discovered ice cream. I've outgrown that, and I just think coffee ice cream is the greatest thing ever made. So I'm really struggling with that one too for a couple grocery stuff. And over purchasing. I mean, I am a shop around person. I actually just bought a used car, new to me, but used car. And I waited 5 months to do it because I just wanted to make sure I was getting the right deal and the right thing. So having some time, taking your time and doing the research does pay off. On average, Americans spend about $53 per week getting lunch at restaurants. That's $2,700 a year. There's a lot we could be doing with $2,700 a year. You're very close to having a great emergency fund if your transmission goes out in your car. But estimates determine that average American workers spend nearly $21 a week buying their coffee out. Data has shown that it indicates an average worker spends about $1,100 annually on coffee. I was also guilty of coffee. Shout out to Royal Farms coffee, but I do love that if you're in the South, I guess, South Pennsylvania. But I now do make it at home just like everybody else. I love that everybody is saving money. This is good. Next
I
one,
want to
please.
share some of my
Go
own
ahead.
tips too, because I'm somebody who does spend a lot. Um, I think that if you're somebody who likes to buy stuff, I really recommend like joining your local library because you can get the like joy of getting stuff without like spending money, and that's really exciting to me. Even if you don't like books, there's movies. My library lets you rent out tools and like crafting supplies, so highly recommend that. Also wanted to share that like really recommend like your local thrift store.
Mhm.
A lot of them, and nothing against some of the bigger chains, but a lot of the local ones have genuinely like really cheap stuff, and that helps me get that like shopping serotonin hit without like
Mhm.
spending a whole bunch of money.
Yes, I'm guilty of doing that too. I love that. And my son turned me on to not throwing any names out, but he turned me on to something that was so cool. It was like yard sailing, but on steroids. It was amazing. And I felt like I got all that shopping energy out of me. So I did really enjoy that too. But that's a great tip, especially for us spenders. So when do you reevaluate your budget? Anytime they're, I mean, they have me saying anywhere quarterly, every 3 months, but it's really when big things change, big changes in your life, saving for a large purchase, changes in income, changes in expensive, life events always need to revisit this, marriage, divorce, new baby, death, all of those things do change where that budget is going. New job, windfalls, inheritance, bonus, settlements, etc. And then of course any unexpected events too that could happen. Um, an unexpected event might be something like the tree fell on your house. Those are the types of times where things might get a little dicey and we need to revisit it. Next one, please.
Also, sorry,
Oh, you're
I don't want
good.
to take over your
I
presentation, but
love
I
it.
have stuff to add too. This could also, the reevaluating budget stuff could also come if you're looking into, since this presentation is geared towards like LGBTQ plus folks.
Mhm.
A lot of times, especially people might start saving for a specific gender affirming care procedure or something like that. So like the moment that you know that that might be something you're interested in, it could be a good moment to reevaluate your budget in terms of how you might want to prepare for that. Even if a procedure is covered by insurance, sometimes people are having to figure out ways to, survive without being able to work for a few weeks or something like
Yes,
that, recovering from a surgery. So it could be another time where you might think about this budget reevaluation kind of stuff.
I like that. Thank you. So signs of a good budget are to be realistic and be flexible because we're all learning to be flexible with things in our lives. We got to be flexible with our budgets too, and we've got to prepare for those unexpected events. You allow progress towards your financial goals and reflect on your financial values. And I think that what that means is that you are being honest with yourself on where your shortcomings are, make and have some due diligence and start a discipline to either start saving in some areas or take things away from our budgets that we're wastefully spending on. Next one, please. Lots of great apps out there. I have actually used some of these. Many of them do work with your credit card statements or bank accounts. So we do encourage you to use some of these resources as well. And I think they have some more on the next page of resources. Yes, these two are websites that have lots of great resources, especially if you're doing different calculators, interest calculators, mortgage calculators are on there. All of those predictions are available to you as well. Next one, please. Oh, podcasts. Such a big thing. And I remembered when you were talking about the library, our library also allows for a downloadable books on tape. So that could be cool too, books on tape through the library. But these are some of the podcasts. I did mention Ramsey earlier, mostly because people know the name, not because I prefer one philosophy over another. Um, Next one, please. Top 5 personal finance tips. Number one is always pay yourself first. People say this all the time, I know, but after a while, you do get used to, even if it's just when I get a raise, I'm not going to spend that raise money. I am going to save the raise money and continue living off of what I had coming to me. You should live below your means. Many people want it all immediately. And unfortunately, we just can't have it all immediately. So we need to focus our spending intentionally to avoid any type of major lifestyle changes. As our income increases, that actually allows us to save more money. Creating a budget and sticking to it, tracking our income and expenses to see where the money is going, know how to recognize the warning signs. Know the sooner you recognize that you're in a bad situation, the quicker we can get you back on track and continue to educate yourself. Stay informed about personal finances through books, podcasts, all of these things, and understand the financial principles to help make smarter decisions. I will continue to encourage that. Members First runs a lot of these different types of programs because financial literacy is so important in our mission to our members and our community. Next one, please.
As since I've been adding a bunch, I will say that one of the things that a lot of our folks in our community like talk about a lot is
Mhm.
or like they come to us often when folks are like really in debt, like maybe 5 or 6 thousand to 8,000 or even more in debt,
Yep.
and struggling to get rent paid. I would say like I know that our society has a lot of stigma around money and stuff like that, but know that like it's not your fault that you're struggling with stuff. It's good to reach out for help sooner, whether it's with us or any kind of like social aid organization to try to figure stuff out because it's so much easier to like get back on track when you're early in like getting stuck in a bad situation than when you're really deep. And a lot of us, I know for myself, because I've definitely been through stuff like that myself, I've been like, I can fix this. And sometimes we can, and other times we gotta like, you know, help let others share the load a little bit.
Yes. I see a lot of great questions coming in. So let me try and take a couple of them as I saw them come up here. Some of the red flags that I see are a
Oh,
lot of
I see. Yeah, they're
yep.
asking like about what is good financial advice, and this person is trying to swindle me.
Yes. That is, well, if they're trying to swindle you, it's usually too good to be true. That is usually the biggest red flag is that it's too good to be true. I double check everything, including people who call me by calling that place back, that sort of thing. But knowing that you're getting good financial advice definitely means partnering with those people who work in that industry every single day. So I want you to use your local banks and credit unions. I want you to use your local insurance agents, not your best friend said or my neighbor's accountant told me this because it's always different and always changing. Even this year, we are going to have so many changes in just tax law that it's hard for I think anybody to kind of wrap their brain around all of those things. So know that there's somebody, have somebody that you can trust. And I would trust a financial institution to guide you in the right direction. Any of them.
Yeah, and to build on that, like be really skeptical of people on social media. There
Yeah,
are definitely good folks. Like I've seen people who are great, but just be a little bit skeptical because there's also people who have no qualifications and are just like, you know, saying whatever is gonna get them views and stuff.
right. But I see a lot of that. I get a lot of members who come in and I call it my hot takes. It's like, what was the latest reel that they saw?
Yeah.
Everybody's like, I've got to put my house in a trust. I've got to buy a mortgage to for with four that's big enough for four people. Like it's always some kind of hot take, or everybody's got to buy gold all of a sudden. Buy gold, buy gold. I call these hot takes because everybody's looking for that get rich quick scheme, but that is just not the way it's done. And it is a process and it's learning to have that savings discipline and starting small and building from there.
Yeah, and like what you said, like if it was easy, if the money was really easy, then everyone would genuinely be doing it. So usually if somebody's telling you that, it's not real.
It's not real, or there's all these other caveats that go with it.
Yeah.
You're not getting all the answers to all of the questions. So definitely talk to a professional, but I can just give you generic information.
That someone else also asks, what about who did you talk to about looking at a lease to know if it's a fair contract? I suggested North Penn Legal Services because they're a free pro bono legal services and they do tenant law and stuff, but I didn't know if you had anything else you'd recommend.
I don't have an attorney that we recommend specifically for that, but I do recommend that you do work with somebody, especially if there's a not-for-profit that's willing to review those contracts. Because those leasing contracts, I've seen them. I feel like they can sometimes come across very predatory, especially to
Mm,
people who are bad credit score, low income, can't put $2,500 down, that sort of thing. Like they almost are punishing you for not being in a good situation. So please have somebody review those. Yes.
yeah. Now I see another question from Noel. They are saying, are there ways to retrieve more information from bank/bank statements? Building a budget initially? Are there instances where you can get more context? Um, sorry, I scrolled down and it moved
No,
the message. Are there instances where you can get more context for expenses after the fact?
all right, say that one more time. Oh,
So they're asking essentially if you can get more information from your bank account after you've already made the spending to see like where you're spending your money, essentially.
yes. Many apps do this, and many financial institutions are getting very savvy with their own apps. So,
Cool.
many financial institutions on their own apps have programs that will point out to you where you're spending. Credit cards will do it all the time for you. They'll say, this is how much you're spending on gas, and
Mhm.
this is how much you're spending on food, and this is how much you're spending on entertainment. And I think those are great breakdowns to be a snapshot of where are my shortcomings? Or am
Yeah.
I entertaining myself too often? Or am I eating out more than I probably should be? I do that because I hate to cook. I would rather eat out than cook. That's me personally.
And then they're also asking if you want to store info for budgeting in a physical form, like filing it away, what are some good rules of thumb for how long to hold on to documents?
Okay, that's a great question. Nowadays, that everything can be stored electronically, so not many people save everything as long as we once did. But for tax purposes, taxes, they can only go back 3 years technically, and they ask you to hold them 5. So that is my rule of thumb for all documents. Hold everything for 3 years, 5 if I'm very, very concerned. And I usually ask the people that I hold stuff for 5 years as if you're a business owner, self-employed, and you have anything that's complicated that might come back at you. But other than that, you don't need to keep it anymore. If you need it, you can get your hands on it.
Cool.
Yeah,
That sounds
especially now that
super.
everything's electronic. You can almost log in and get anything from any one of your
Yeah.
institutions.
And I'll say that all the banks that I have do allow you to also like mark your expenses with different like you can write on them and stuff. I know that's something that I did with my business accounts just to see where we were losing or gaining funds and stuff like that. So definitely recommend playing around on your bank's website because I would say most of them have a lot of capabilities. So definitely something to look into. Does anyone else have any other questions? I don't see any more in the chat. I want to see if anyone had anything else before we wrap up tonight. Oh, I see. So someone in the chat, advice on accounting for disability accommodation budgeting when not receiving supplemental income, such as medical supplies, cooking support. Would you figure out your costs and then figure out a sustainable approach? That's a great question, Aether.
These are great questions. Accounting for, okay, so if you, I think what you're asking me is if you're not receiving any supplemental income, um, I figure everything into my costs. So, um, once you figure out what your costs are, and some of those costs, some of those costs can't always be guesstimated, I guess. I'm not sure what my answer to this one is supposed to be. Ask me this question again. Advice on accounting for disability accommodating budgeting when not receiving supplemental income. Okay, cooking support, figure out your costs first and then figure out a sustainable approach. Well, I mean, I think one and the same have to happen. We have to know what our total income possibilities are and the resources available that'll supplement those. So I know that I can only work maybe 60 hours a week max. That's sort of like where my income is. Some people aren't allowed to work at all, so their income is very, very limited. It just changes how we're going to view those resources and put them into our budget. So, what I'm thinking is what I would do is I would still make a list. What are all my expenses? What are all my income? Where is my shortfall? And then how do I make up the difference for that? And the difference is, are there resources available to me that I'm not aware of? Working with these organizations, I think, is a great way to move some of that forward. But also, are there little things that I could be doing to make up that difference? And is there any potential to make up that difference? I think is also a good question too. But I always recommend work with a financial professional or your financial institution.
And I will just add to that, Aether, like most banks, at least I've only ever used credit unions, will offer you help often not for a cost, for free.
Yeah.
Um, so definitely free resources are definitely out there. Um, I'll also just add from my own personal experience, having times in my life where I couldn't work or I was on like a short-term disability or something like that. What I did is I just literally made the same budget and saw where everything was coming from. And then I went like line by line and was like, okay, I will now search for resources on paying specifically internet bills or
There you go.
specifically food. If I needed hot meals, like specifically lining them all up. And it sucks because it takes a while.
Yeah.
And there's not going to be a one-to-one for everything, but
Nope.
there are for a lot of things. And that's how I used to build my own budget is to basically like I mean, it would always be in the red, and then I would figure out where I could fill in that stuff. Um, and I'm gonna drop in the chat. There's a website called Find Help, and
Mhm.
it's a really helpful resource because you can type in your zip code and you can type in what you're looking for. It doesn't have every single organization, but it has a lot of like free services and stuff that can help you figure out or fill in some of those gaps.
Oh, that's a good one. Mhm.
I see Noel. Noel or
Yep.
Noel. I don't know which one. My mom said has been dealing with the situation recently, and social workers helped a lot. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And they know the social workers are so great because they have relationships with many other resources that I'm not aware of. There's so many other organizations out there that they're connected with locally in their community that we wouldn't know about. But getting someone like that involved, I think, is very valuable.
For sure. And you can kind of piece together that knowledge, right? You can talk to a banking institution about some of the financial
Mhm.
stuff and then go to another organization to kind of get together the rest of those pieces.
Yes.
Does anyone else have any other questions? Seems like most folks have got a chance to ask a question, but I want to give people another chance before we wrap up. I really appreciate everybody's participation. People had so many thoughtful questions, and
Thank
thank you,
you.
Amanda, for all of your
Thank
insight in
you,
this presentation.
everybody. Thank you.
We got some thanks in the chat. I hope that you all have a really lovely night. And yeah, take care and check us out on the next one. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a lovely night.
You too. Bye.